It's been 2 weeks since Romeo last wrote in his journal. 2 weeks of school, deadlines, missed moments with Julian, and one family outing that brought something back he wasn't expecting. Welcome back to the 17th reading in the Wherefore Art Thou Journals series. If you are new here, every Thursday we explore selected passages from Romeo and Julian's private journals, the entries that were never meant for anyone else to read. Before we dive in, if you are not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can follow the journey every week. And don't miss our Monday shorts, where I share sneak previews of what's coming and extra behind the scenes insights. Like I said, it's been about 2 weeks since Romeo's last entry, and this time he has a lot to unpack. So tonight, we're only stepping into the first half of it. Life has been busy. His media class is taking up more time than he expected, and it's starting to interfere with the little pockets of time he has with Julian, even at school. A few rushed lunches, a few hallway glances, and if Romeo is pointing it out in his journal, it's clearly been weighing on him. But the biggest struggle in this entry doesn't happen at school. It happens during a family outing. Something unexpected resurfaces. Let's dive in. Monday, March 6th, 2023, 9:06 p.m. Entry by Romeo. Holy shit, it's been a while. Why? Honestly, I have no idea. There's been a ton of schoolwork dumped on us lately. It's insane. I've barely had time for anything. I only managed to meet up with Julian twice for lunch last week and didn't even see him today. Last week, my media class had us create a short film. That meant staying after school every single day to get it done. I'm just glad Julian was so understanding, though he did demand a priority screening once it was finished. I think I was at school until 6 p.m. every day, getting kicked out by the janitors each time. The project was due today at the end of class, but I brought home a cut of the film so I could show it to Julian later. Speaking of Julian, we had plans to get together Friday night, but I didn't finish working on the short until 6 p.m. He was swimming that evening and stopped by for a quick chat when I was alone for about 10 minutes. One of the guys in my group had gone out to get a shot we needed. There wasn't enough time to show Julian anything, but he told me to focus on the project and text him when I could. Mom picked me up after 6 p.m., which was a relief because I was too lazy to walk home. What surprised me most was that Dad was with her. They decided the three of us would go out for dinner, which made me think someone might be dying. For context, it's extremely rare for us to go out for dinner as a family. As we pulled up to the restaurant, I saw Bali and his family standing outside, about to go in. I haven't spoken to Bali since I left my old school. I panicked and pretended I wasn't in the mood to eat there. Mom gave me one of those WTF looks, but I think she understood. She smiled empathetically and nodded before suggesting an Italian place we had all enjoyed 4 years ago. Before digging into the food, I snapped a picture of my plate, which got a weird look from Mom since I never take pictures of my food. I had to text Julian about what was going on and let him know I'd been kidnapped by my parents for dinner. He jokingly replied, "Oh, I see how it is. Out on a date with someone else." I couldn't help but laugh at the table. Of course, Mom noticed and told me to put my phone away. I never have my phone out during dinner, so even I was surprised at myself. Later, on the drive home, I apologized to Julian for not responding after his text. I explained why I couldn't reply earlier and was a little worried he might have overthought it. He assured me he was fine. At least, that's what he said. I had no choice but to trust him. I mentioned that I would have invited him to dinner, but it probably wouldn't have been comfortable for either of us, especially after what happened with Bali. That situation could have blown up in my face, and I had no clue how Dad would react. Honestly, it wouldn't have been a good idea. Knowing Dad, he'd run out of schools to transfer me to if things went sideways. We didn't get home till almost 9 p.m., and by then I was exhausted. I kicked off my shoes, went straight to my room, and passed out on my bed, still fully dressed. The only thing that woke me was my phone vibrating in my pocket. It was Julian, of course. I'd put my phone in Do Not Disturb mode, but he's the one person allowed to bypass it. I'd forgotten about that. When I saw his message, checking if I'd made it home safely, I told him I'd fallen asleep as soon as I hit the bed. He immediately started apologizing for waking me up. It took several "it's okays" to settle him down. Then he asked why it didn't show I had notifications muted. I decided to FaceTime him to explain. When I told him he's the only person I had allowed to bypass Do Not Disturb, the look on his face was priceless. He looked like he might cry. All he said was a soft, "Oh." We ended up talking for about an hour. At one point, I must have fallen asleep while he was talking. I felt bad about it, but he didn't seem to mind. When I brought it up on Saturday, he confirmed I dozed off and said he'd just waited for me to wake up. What a sweet guy. By the time I couldn't keep my eyes open anymore, I promised we'd see each other Saturday, and I kept that promise. The weather was decent, so we met up for a hike. Julian was supposed to spend the weekend with his cousin, but she was out shopping with a friend, which freed up some time. Apparently, when his cousin shops, it turns into an 8-hour shift. We met at our usual meeting point. He had a backpack, while I only brought a water bottle in my shoulder bag with my sketchbook. When I asked what was in his backpack, he didn't really answer. We hiked for about an hour, and wow, his endurance is insane. It made me realize how out of shape I am. Finally, we reached this large rock overlooking the lake. It was the perfect viewpoint, though there was a drop I wasn't about to get too close to. No desire to fall in and get wet. Julian took off his backpack, pulled out a small blanket, and spread it on the rock. I asked what he was doing, but he just smiled and patted the blanket, signaling for me to sit. Then he pulled out little sandwiches and snacks. I didn't even know what to say. Such a sweet thought. We hadn't even discussed anything beyond hiking, but he clearly had a plan in mind. He even pulled out a small Bluetooth speaker and started playing music. We stayed there for about an hour. The little sandwiches he made were surprisingly good, and he even packed some grapes. I think I realized right then and there that this one was a keeper. It hit us at some point that we'd known each other for just over a month. He told me it had been the best month of his life, at least the part he could remember. He said he was so happy we met. I couldn't resist saying, "Well, thank you for not watching where you were going." We had a good laugh about that. By then, we were sitting on the blanket with our feet dangling over the edge of the rock. For a moment, he leaned his head down onto my shoulder. I wanted to put my arm around him, but hesitated for some reason. I have no idea why, but I did. Later, when I got home, I was kicking myself for not following through. At one point, he got a text from his cousin, asking if he still planned to stay at her place Saturday night. It was so cute how he asked if I was okay with it. What would it matter to me? Of course, I told him it was fine if we had to leave. I think he just didn't want to cut our time together short. He started packing up the blankets since his cousin was apparently going to get them dinner. We walked back to our usual separation spot and said bye. Did I really want to let him go? No. But it was obvious how much he cares about his cousin, and I couldn't fault him for that. Oh, I totally forgot to mention that I showed him the cut of the short film. In hindsight, watching it while our legs were dangling over the edge of a rock might not have been the smartest idea. What if he had dropped my phone? But still, I showed it to him. It wasn't like a scary movie or anything, but he loved it. I'm not sure if he really meant it or if he was just being supportive because I was involved. Either way, he gave thoughtful feedback. He even pointed out one particular shot that he felt ran a split second too long. After watching it back, I realized he was absolutely right. I made a quick note to fix it at school today. And that's where we'll pause for tonight. Seeing Bali stirred something old inside Romeo, something he tried to push down and move past. But even when he avoids it, his mom seems to sense it. There's a quiet awareness there that says more than words ever could. At the same time, the relationship between Romeo and Julian continues to deepen. The softness is becoming more visible. Julian's romantic side starts to shine, especially with that picnic. The way he planned it quietly, the way he just started pulling things out one by one. No announcement, no performance, just care. And that small moment, the gentle pat on the blanket, that came from a real experience in my own life. Sometimes the smallest gestures hold the most meaning. Romeo also finally shares his short film with Julian, and that turns out to be a smart move. Julian offers a suggestion that generally improves the project and ends up helping the group's overall mark. Julian for the win. What I love about this entry is the contrast. Romeo is navigating old emotional wounds on one side, and on the other, he's building something new and steady with someone who sees him. Love isn't loud here. It's thoughtful, it's supportive, it's present. And sometimes that's even more powerful. If you're enjoying watching this relationship unfold in these quieter, layered moments, take a second to like the video. It really helps this series reach new readers. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss next week's entry. And let me know in the comments. Do you think it's harder to heal from the past while building something new? Or can love actually help you do both? And if you want the full story, including everything I don't read here, you can order Wherefore Art Thou Journals Volume 1 through the links in the description or at romeoandjulian.com. Until next Thursday, keep your heart open, your journal close, and your story unfolding.